What's up, everybody? It's Luke James, not the singer. If you're looking to get your music reviewed, you can hit up this email that's right here. But today I'm going to hit you up with my thoughts and opinions on this new project from KPW called G.O.D and the Burgeon. Now, KPW is a rapper who's coming out of Minnesota, and I have reviewed plenty of projects of his in the past. You can actually do a search for KPW on my channel to find those projects, and as usual, you can find links to his music, social media, websites, etc. just by checking the information box down below. But one thing I will say I know about KPW from listening to his past projects is that he really does have a dense and abstract lyrical style, so if you're into that type of thing, I really think you're going to love this project and probably like it more than me. But if you are someone who doesn't have that type of patience, like maybe you appreciate content and thought-provoking ideas, but you don't like when someone takes a long way and gets really abstract and dense with it, if you don't like that certain level of complexity, this might be a little bit of a challenge or chore for you. So obviously you're going to have to check it out for yourself, but things do get pretty heavy here. Now, according to the dictionary, the word burgeon means to grow, increase rapidly, or flourish. So throughout this project, you are going to pick up on these ideas, and he certainly is speaking on that. Like on the track Is to Expand, where he explains that burgeon is proliferation, intimidation shall diminish once adults attain the realness and the realizations, which is just an immediate introduction to his rap style, how he's going to throw an extra large vocabulary at you, give you a lot of stuff to think about. So to be perfectly honest, whether you enjoy this or not is going to have a lot to do with your level of patience. Some people love this stuff where they really have to break things down and study, and other people, like I said, might find it to be a bit of a chore and might not be that into it. So I'm just throwing that out there from the start because that's kind of how I've felt about his music every time I've reviewed it. I found it to be a little bit challenging. There are certainly things there that I enjoy, but I don't find myself coming back to these projects a lot. There's not a lot in the way of overly exciting production, catchy hooks, and those sorts of things that I think tie into the music that I personally enjoy. But it's very clear he's not trying to do that, man. He's not trying to make that mainstream sound. So I'm not suggesting that he change it or go out of his way to do that, to cater to me, obviously. But one thing I do have to say is that I found it interesting how he spoke on relationships a little bit on here. It was pretty cool to hear his take on that. Like on Unison, for example, this one seems to deal with being in sync in a relationship with lines like an unconventional couple who overstands, overtly introverted and invested in tandem in future plans. And PALATE has KPW speaking on the idea of how settling down is basically equating to just grabbing at what's good enough. We've all heard that phrase before. Maybe you're a bit older and someone tells you to just settle down, but you don't want to just settle for what's good enough just to kind of settle you down and make you not be out there enjoying life and having fun doing other things, man. I don't think you should settle down. You should take your time, get to where you're going and figure it out. At least that's what I took from it. And again, just to be clear, his lyricism is very dense and abstract and complex, so some of the shit I'm saying, I could be taking it completely wrong. Even just some of these bars that I've read off to you, you can kind of see how he pieces together his words, so I do appreciate his songwriting and all that. I'm just saying I think people might take many different things from his music, and what he means could be completely different, you know what I mean? He's clearly thought this out a lot with where he's putting his words, which is impressive and pretty dope, but it's just going to take a bit of time for people to really understand what he's getting at. Now, on this song, he also touches on the idea of these people who were maybe mocked during their younger years, and now that they're older, they're doing a little bit better, they might be more desirable. We've certainly heard this sort of idea before, like when people talk about the nerds and jocks thing, and then the nerds have the money and they have the smarts when they get older, blah, blah, blah. That's sort of the idea that I took from that one. So in a world where relationships-based tracks are usually kind of boring and stagnant, I thought his approach was very refreshing, and the way that he put his ideas out there was cool. So as much as I keep saying that the shit is challenging, there are certainly rewards there when you do pick up on some of the stuff that he's saying. So that was pretty cool. And another thing that I really did like about this one as I scroll down are some of these features, man. Like on Routinize or Routinize, I'm not sure exactly how to say that. This features strong performances from King Kamal, Vinnie Crooks, and Megatron. They're covering a wide variety of topics from the whole white savior complex to house niggas. And I also like that line on here from KPW when he spit, "Respect the woo, but cash doesn't rule my moves, but only so many things that surround me, I get to choose." Just the idea of not being controlled by cash, because there are so many other things out there in life, man. As I've said a couple of times, there are plenty of good ideas here. You just gotta listen and be patient and pick up on them. And that was a bar that really stuck out to me, so I thought that was pretty dope. And where I did mention some of that commentary about white saviors and house niggas, I also like what King Kamal was spitting about on the Sage, where he says that the face of racism went from age 80 to babies young as 12 and mega hats acting crazy. I think that line really sums up a lot of what we're seeing in the world today, and this beat is pretty cool too, with fluttering keys and reverse sound effects, but you might have noticed I haven't spoken on the production too much so far, and that's because in general there really weren't a lot of moments that grabbed my attention. I didn't think these beats were too catchy, there's not much in the way of bangers, not much in the way of tracks that really make you want to like lay back and be vibey. They do have a little bit of a experimental sound to them, you know? They work fine as backdrops, like I'm not saying these beats are trash, I just didn't get those moments where I was like, oh fuck man, this beat is crazy. I didn't really get that at all on here, to be honest. So the production was something that kind of held this back for me. You're getting plenty of hefty drums, reverse sound effects, and light jazz sounds, a little bit of a lo-fi element, you might say. So they work fine, but you know, there just wasn't much there that was overly memorable to me. And as I did touch on a bit earlier, it's kind of the same thing when it comes to the hooks. So I don't think the beats are that strong on here. The hooks aren't really catchy, which, I mean, that's what a hook should be, in my opinion. Like, a hook is called a hook because it's supposed to catch you or be memorable in some way. I didn't think there was a lot of great hooks on here. Maybe a couple were decent. And even KPW's style, just that run-on flow that he has, I think is pretty cool, but that can be hard for people to grasp onto, I think. Then this large vocabulary, just tying all this together, makes it very clear that he's doing his own thing, which I certainly respect. But I don't know, man, like, just sonically, I didn't really enjoy this project too much. I did like picking at some of the lyrics and taking the stuff that he was saying, but I don't see any of these songs really being put in a regular playlist of mine. And that's not to say they're awful, they just didn't really hit me like that, but I did enjoy the listen, and I did find it to be quite interesting. So, you know, keep in mind, this is just my opinion. I'm one listener. This is a really difficult project to review, and it's hard to do it justice because there's so much going on. So I'm just trying to take a very honest approach and tell you how I feel, while also letting you know that you might feel differently based on some of the stuff going on. So that's what we're doing here. But one of the beats that I did like on here is Petals' Resemblance. You're getting these very soft woodwinds, and then you're getting vocals from Hyea, which really match up nicely, man. I liked her vocals all over this. Nice hook on here as well, probably one of the better hooks on the whole project. And then on Nostalgiacence, I hope I'm saying that right. Again, there's some complex shit here going on, man. I'm not gonna act like I'm a super genius, man. I dropped out of high school, man. Bear with me. So, you know, I'm probably mispronouncing all kinds of the shit, but I'm doing my best, doing what I can do. On this track, I really like that jazz production, and we're getting some other great features, this time from Juice WRLD and Niles. I especially liked Juice WRLD's buttery flows on that first verse, just so effortless and natural. I like the way that he was crawling on that beat. And of course, the second verse from Niles, probably my favorite verse on the album, man. This one just really resonated and stuck with me, as he's making all kinds of fun references to Comic View and Living Color, fried bologna and hand-me-downs, all that type of shit that those of us who were born in the 80s, maybe even early 90s, can certainly relate to, man. That shit just took me back to the younger days of mine, made me remember what it was like to be a youngin' and be carefree. So, you know, I really like this track because the direction of it was very clear. It wasn't as complex as some of the other ones. It felt very focused, so it wasn't as brain-straining as some of these other tracks, man. Some of these tracks really... you know, they just require a lot to really sift and break down and get into. Like, even as I took the time to review this, I know I'm just scraping the surface. I mean, this video is probably going to be close to 10 minutes or something like that, and I still feel like I'm not breaking everything down. So, you know, this is one of those projects that you got to check for yourself, man. If you like abstract and dense lyricism, it is what it is, man. There's only so much I can say, but I think I've kind of explained to you what the overall sound is here, the style, and what he's getting into. So, you know, as I said, I like the features. That's not to imply that KPW didn't do his thing. He has a very strong mic presence. Whenever he shows up, you know it's him. He has a unique style. His bars take time to decipher, but you are going to get plenty of good shit. I just felt like these people helped add a bit of balance, and when they showed up, they really did a damn good job. So his people did good all over this, man. They really showed up and helped out. So, you know, I'm going to go with a 3 out of 5 once again here. That's actually what I did give his last project, because honestly, I feel the same way, man. I don't feel much differently about what he's doing here. If you've checked his music in the past and you liked it, you're absolutely going to love it. If you're not into overly challenging hip-hop, where, you know, the beats and the hooks don't really do a whole lot of work, I don't know if you're going to like this one, but it's certainly an interesting listen. Like, I enjoyed going through this and breaking down some of the lyrics. I just don't see myself really coming back to this or putting many of the songs into my rotation, although maybe Nostalgiacence possibly, because I thought that track was probably the most accessible, where the rest of this project, you know, it's not really overly accessible, and that's not a knock. I'm making that clear. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It is what it is, man. I'm sure he knows that as he's writing this as well. writing the lyrics to this album. So there you go, man. Those are my thoughts and opinions. Hopefully it helps you out. Check the project out for yourself, then hit me up in the comments section like I always ask you to do. Make sure you show me love and you show me lots of it. Thank you for watching, everybody. I will see you next time.